Ray Bard is the publisher at Bard Press, and they publish business books. Now, over the last 25 years, they've only published 32 of them, but 18, half of them have all become bestsellers. You might be familiar with 3 of them, the Wizard of Ads trilogy, but also Jeffrey Gitomer's books, Herb Kelleher's book called Nuts, the John Spolstra book called Marketing Outrageously, all came from Bard Press. Now, he says that these books all have 4 things in common. Number 1, a big idea. Number 2, nuts and bolts. Number 3, entertainment. Number 4, hope. In a recent class that Chris Maddock and I were teaching at Wizard Academy called Martinis and Marketing, somebody brought up those 4 things and how they might apply to marketing and to advertising. And what became apparent is something that Roy Williams has talked about quite a bit, is that people intuitively get the idea that you need a big idea and nuts and bolts in your marketing, but they often miss the entertainment and they almost always miss hope. So on this episode of the Wizards Roundtable, I speak with Chris Maddock and we're talking about Ray Bard's 4 main elements, starting with the big idea.
I think it comes from the people that we typically encounter at our Martinis and Marketing. There's business owners that are trying to develop a marketing plan. I think if any of the 4 that they bring to the table, usually they have the big idea. Usually they understand who they are and hopefully what they do well. So that's probably the easiest of them.
I think that's an interesting thing about businesses is they started out with a big idea. I mean, they knew that there was a hole in the marketplace or something that they were bringing to the table that was different. But it seems that as years go on, they kind of fall into a rut of what everybody else is doing. And the goal is to break out of that.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I wonder if they I think they lose the big idea. Maybe I think that's perhaps in the day to day. So right. they decide if it's, remember the gal that had the pet, the doggy daycare, and I think that the way that she put it when she presented it to the class, she said. She's like, we're like a hotelier for cats and dogs, and it's our job to make sure that their life is wonderful while they stay with us. But when she wrote her ads, when it got down to the day to day and her how she communicated that, all of that was lost. Yeah. It was about price, and it was about all these things that would be gauche to talk about to the prospective human prospect. And I think it gets lost a lot of the time with almost every example.
So you dig down, you find that thing that got you into this business in the first place, whatever that passion was, and that's a great springboard for the big idea, because it's unique to you, it's unique to the business owner.
Or that I think I saw this so many times growing up working for Roy, is he'll change that around from folks that don't really have an idea or have the right idea, and it's turning that around to what people really care about. Your customers really care about. Maybe that's the big idea. Yeah. Beyond what is something that in your heart or your passion or something like that. One of them, if you think back, was Nuts by Herb Kelleher. The big idea of Southwest Airlines and the nuts and bolts, and when we're going to talk about the other two parts of it, the things that most books and ad campaigns lack, the hope and the entertainment, it's all in there. And that I remember that's a lot of the stuff that the parameters that Ray would look for. And
so, I guess for the purposes of marketing one's business, the nuts and bolts it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's the stuff you do from day to day. That is the day-to-day stuff. But what's so interesting is, as far as the consumer is concerned, that's actually not the most important thing. How you fumigate the house to get the bugs out is irrelevant to me. The fact that the bugs are out is what I'm trying to get to. And so to get that idea across in an entertaining way, because if you don't get their attention, the rest of it's just academic.
I agree with that. I think that to some point you can get some nuts and bolts out of the true meaningful ones out of folks. If you dig down, and that can be, why is it that Johnny Rockets is the class burger place to go in town, because you can make your own burger out of, and you can all these reasons that are a little more elemental than we have burgers taste good. So having those things in there, I kind of consider those the nuts and bolts too. We consider our, like Herb Kelleher, one for him would be the customer's not always right. Mm-hmm. I think that's that's part of the nuts and bolts story of Southwest Airlines. We're not gonna cater to everybody. We're gonna hone in onto the value customer, and we're gonna cut some corners that aren't going to appeal to the top line airline customer. We're just straight away gonna. And everyone was telling her, that's not going to work. What about the first class folks? So to me, those are as much nuts and bolts as anything else. But I agree, those aren't the most important things, I think, in making a campaign work.
It's the ingredients to the cake, but it's not really what you're not excited about the flour and the eggs. You're excited about the finish.
What are you excited about by cake? I've not really gotten into it.
Frosting.
You say that so quick. So it's the frosting. So out of in our class, what is the Martinis and Marketing? What's the frosting? What do we teach that is the parallel with the frosting?
I think the parallel with the frosting is the entertainment factor. Make this thing more interesting than whatever they're doing right now. There's a little hope too. Yeah, and then you finish up with hope. I think that's one of the ones that gets missed so often. If you break down commercials or any kind of advertising, it usually follows the pattern of problem, product, solution, right? Here's the problem the customer is experiencing. Hey, by the way, we've got this great product, and then aren't you happy now that it's done? I mean, it plays itself out almost literally in that order when you watch late night infomercials.
You flip, but they flop. You flip, but they flop. Hi, Mark Gill here for the perfect pancake pan. The fast, easy, spatula-free way to make picture-perfect pancakes every time. Now make tasty gingerbread pancakes, fluffy cranberry, or mountains of chocolate chip pancakes for the kids in an instant.
You're absolutely right. And I think I didn't know what I was combating a long time ago when I'd have writers come in with their ads. And I'd cut off the top third of it with a paper cutter.
Yep.
And it was that him and I still call it him and on and toe in the dirt and mess around. But usually they're setting up the problem, and they're as Roy's always says, they're not putting the known underwater. They're putting it above water and staring at it.
It's a very laborious exposition. I mean, it's just they feel like they have to set the scene before the scene can start, and you really don't. One example, I think, that I like to use are the Corona commercials, where really all you see is the back of a beach chair and an ice bucket, and that's really all you need. You don't need to go through have you been having a hectic day?
Are humans there?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I like that one that's on the beach where they just have the big tall palm tree. It's a Christmas one, I guess.
Yes.
All it is, they flip on the lights. I think it's a 15. They flip on the lights, and the palm tree lights up as well, and that's it. There's a Corona thing.
And you know what's so lovely about that is they will then use that in print. They will then use that online. It's just it's one of these campaigns that can go across all the media and work.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if you saw in it. There's an app called Calm. Essentially, it was just a a forest scene, and then they started playing the sounds of rain with the circle, which denoted perfectly. It said, "Don't think anything for 30 seconds," which is, I think that's on what you do on Calm.
Yeah.
And that's the perfect way to tell that you do not that didn't have to be said, or you didn't have to be instructed. Like, just, and here you go, and you listen to the rain, and you wished that it would go on for longer than that.
And to use that as an example, I mean, so there you've got two brands that there was no need to go into, Calm is an app that you download with meditations on it that are daily, done research by psychologists. They don't have to do any of that, just simply show you in the place where you want to be.
Yeah. I would have run away from that had I thought of any of that. And I think that's what made me think of Peterman ads, which I've always had people write this way, because Peterman ads in such an economy of space get you into a noir, and it does that right away. So it's the antithesis of what you were pointing out. It has character. It's made up. It's you, and in doing so, that's the idea. That's where most of those get to hope. The flapper dress. It gets the idea that when you wear this dress, you're gonna be something else. All of that is done in there. I found that really remarkable, and I hadn't thought about how useful those four tools can be. Every person in that class wrote a campaign, or at least a couple of ads that were, I think, remarkable.
Yeah. We had a fitness trainer in there who presented his story from the viewpoint of the person who's going out to dinner, and while his friends are all worried about the calories and what they eat, the guy just dives in, and he knew to dive in because he understood food and nutrition and how it all comes together. In the parking lot, your friends think you're completely lost. You had a steak, a roll, and a beer, yet somehow you have the nerve to tell them you're on track to lose weight? They don't get it, because if you want to be lean, you have to eat leafy greens, right? You leave well enough alone. The proof is in the pudding. The work is already done. All you had to do was show up. Day after day, you show up. You work out at Pure Performance when you're supposed to. You track what you eat. Life is simple and successful. You set the next friend's dinner at the local steakhouse, wearing your new pants that are a size smaller, of course. Oh, and you didn't mean to leave the tag on. You forgot.
He forecast you as the listener as having already experienced his fitness, his training, and you were looking back almost in a satisfied and post hopeful manner. You're happy at that point that you had signed up for Jeremy's training.
I mean, it's so easily overlooked as the fluff and the frosting, when really it's the thing that draws you in. And so many commercials, going back to Orlando Wood's examples, are just these sort of faceless or just an appendage coming in or something that has no human or humanity to it. And when you inject that stuff, it's immediately magnetic. And so it's not, it's not creative just because we want to be creative or interesting because we want to win an award. It's a huge chunk of the fuel that makes the thing work.
It's that stuff I sometimes get a little too worked up with when we have folks writing milquetoast stuff. I'm like, you don't believe in this stuff. I was like, I don't feel it. Now, often that's enough to get people a little way back to the main idea. Is like, I don't believe you. I challenged, made a gal, a number of them cried, but then she
but that's another
broke
story.
out of it and wrote one of the best ads in the whole class. This is a couple of classes ago. So I was like, I don't feel it. None of us feel it. We don't understand. We don't get it. And she's like, I've written you, told you everything. I was like, we don't feel anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that, I think hope gets you a long way to that. And so it could be almost anything, where you see it's just something better, and hopefully it wouldn't be contrived and something that everybody else is doing.
We'll be teaching the Martinis and Marketing class again at Wizard Academy, and we certainly encourage you to sign up for all the classes there. As of right now, the classes are being held virtually. They will be back at the tower again when it is safe to do so, but it's a really good chance to get in on some of the Wizard Academy classes at a pretty good discount while they're being held virtually. So we encourage you to go to wizardacademy.org and find out about those. In the meantime, if you have any comments or questions, put them in the comment box below, or you can send us an email. I'll put the email addresses up here on this side of the screen. Meanwhile, on this side of the screen, YouTube is going to tell you about some other videos to watch. That one's pretty good.